Hi guys, this is U1405550. How are you guys doing? I'm just wearing a random shirt at the moment because, yeah, college and whatnot. And also because I pretty much did some work and now I'm kind of just taking a quick break. Oh gosh, I still need to cut these nails when I have a chance because I've been a bit busy. I am so sorry, y'all. Anyways, so let's get back into the nitty-gritty. It's been a while. I've been pretty busy. Haven't had time. In fact, I had to manage my schedule in a way where literally I could not go live until Sunday, which was most likely going to be tomorrow now. Well, actually almost tomorrow now, because I'm looking at the time and it's 10:53, almost 11. So depending on how long this takes, this might be about an hour video, give or take. If I can get my points across and in a fluid manner so that you guys don't get bored and also so you guys can kind of understand these concepts. So, the thing that also you guys need to, as freshmen, and anybody who really goes back to college after X amount of years, is there is going to be times when you don't have a lot of money and you're going to be eating things like this. Ramen. Not exactly like, good quality ramen from an actual restaurant, but more so ramen that is instant. Do not just always put in the packet and then put this, in it. That ain't gonna help. What I'd recommend for you guys to do, especially for most of you guys, is to add something different to it. Add a little bit of the packet if you like, but more so keep the noodles how they are. Add in some salt and pepper if you'd like. Maybe a good recipe would be cook the noodles, strain it out, put a little bit of gosh darn it, cookie butter or almond butter, or if you want to, peanut butter, and basically put it in there, put a little bit of water, a little bit of oil, whatever, and you mix it around, and literally you've got almost like you're having like a mini version of pad thai, but what I like to call poor college student type of meal. I learned this a little bit on YouTube when I was randomly bored and was like, what can I make if I don't have time and, I really need to get somewhere, but I want some food. And that's how I found it. It was pretty cool. Alright, so, very, very yummy, very, very good. Especially if you know how to cook them correctly. Whether it's fresh or instant. When they're still chewy and somewhat stringy, but not overcooked and dense. Well, I mean, not dense. And extremely chewy, in a sense where it's like waterlogged. Always good. Always good. But anyways, yeah, so that would be a way to not only just have regular ramen noodles, but also to have a variety. What I tend to do sometimes is I'll put in a packet, but I'll also put in a knob of ginger, a knob of garlic, which also helps out a lot because a lot of that ramen is usually not the most nutritious type of food. But you can definitely use it in the right ways by adding some type of fresh herb that you might have at home or at your dorm, or a fresh type of herb that you get from your prep kitchen, which usually they have in universities, not community colleges, but they usually have those in universities, or what you can always do if you have the chance to, even if it's only a little bit of something, depending on how much money you have, going to your local market or a market that's near your school or a market that's even inside your school is always good. Something like, a log of ginger, a little bit of ginger, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of cayenne, something extra to add to the taste of things, so that at least you're not only just getting the unhealthy stuff, you're getting some of the healthy nutrients that you need. Also, it changes the way that the noodles taste. So that's definitely something that you guys should definitely do. It's a hack, what I would call a college hack for food. Another one is one that you can actually find a lot on YouTube for vegan YouTubers, which most people would call overnight oats. So overnight oats is basically oats where you take a whole bunch of oats, you take some agave or some honey if you're not vegan, and you'll put inside the bowl. Okay, you'll mix it up, and then along with that, you'll add maybe, some almonds, some cashews if you have, and if you're lucky, maybe some strawberries if you have any. Put that inside, mix it around, and then add your milk or your almond milk or your soy milk. After that, you want to mix it around with your spoon or fork that you have. Then put your spoon and fork on the side or inside the bowl. Take a piece of paper or paper towel and basically make a little hole for the spoon, but mostly everything is closed and locked. And then you set it aside at night and you go to sleep. And what ends up happening after a few hours, when you wake up, maybe at 6 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe later if you have later classes, is it ends up thickening. It ends up thickening, and all of the moisture and all the taste of the oats and all of the things that you added to it soaks up all of that taste and all of that, what is it called? And all of the ingredients that you put inside that bowl or mason jar or whatever you put in it. Usually most people will put it in a cup. And then basically you wake up, you drink your water, you wake up. Okay, I just said that twice. You wake up, you drink water, you go to the restroom, you shower, you do your other things that you have to do, and then you have some breakfast, or you have breakfast before you go shower, whatever. Whatever your routine is, or your habit is. If you guys ever want to watch or read a book that has to do with the way that we think and the way that we learn things, I would recommend the book called The Power of Habit by, I forgot the author's name. It's literally on the tip of my tongue. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, I think is his name. Charles Duhigg, Power of Habit. By the way, that is not sponsored. That is just me recommending a book. So please, YouTube, do not randomly be copyrighting, claiming me for no apparent reason when I'm just recommending a book that I would recommend that is very interesting for college students to read. There's a lot of different books that I think college students should read, and a lot of different videos that I think college students should read. Should watch. So different books that you should read, different books that you should watch. And the cool thing about going to college is that you already understand a lot of stuff from high school, middle school, and elementary school, but you have much more of a wider understanding of our world, a wider understanding of why history is history and why we need to learn history and why we need to learn this and why we need to learn that. These are ways to prepare you and understand, the way that we live life in the States or the way that we live life in your so-called country and our society, and how we progress, and any problems that we've had in the past, and if they've repeated themselves, different things that have happened in the past but now are very different. All of those different types of like interesting type of talks and opinions that most people have. I of course cannot talk about them on this because then I would literally be getting a little off topic, but you will notice some different dichotomies between the two. Dichotomies meaning two different things, and you're comparing between two different things or many things, if you guys don't know what a dichotomy is. But anyways, so that's one thing that I want to explain as far as food, and then about history and about different classes that you're going to be taking. And also they let you think about other, opinions, a lot of different POVs. For instance, there's sometimes classes that are called philosophy classes for you to understand the philosophy of not only your own religion, if you're religious, but other people's religions, and what their religion really talks about, and what your religion talks about, and opens your mind to respecting everybody's religions and everybody's way of life and the way that they think of things. That's another example. Also, English, a good way for you to make an argument when you're trying to talk about something, or when you're trying to campaign about something in the future, or for future careers, making certain types of essays and or mandates and or laws and or different types of things. English really helps with, because in our modern day of thinking, we use English to make books. We use English to help us understand how to write our journals. We also use it along with our language learning. If we know how to speak different languages, we use it in a way to translate, our Spanish language, or our Japanese language, or another Asian language, or any type of minority's language, and translating it from that language into English, and then translating that English into that minority's language, so that we can all understand what is happening in our world, and what is happening in the US, and what is happening in other countries. So there's a lot of different uses for every single class you take, whether or not you agree with it even being in class or not. But these are classes you're going to need, and they're required for you to transfer to a higher understanding of learning, and also to a higher POV of learning. This is where your critical thinking really comes into play. It does come into play in high school, definitely, because you are going to be talking about some things like that sometimes. But it's not always shown as much. It depends on your school, and it depends on how focused your school is. But no matter what it is, and how your teacher also teaches it too, if they're focused on it too, is that we're trying to develop every single time through elementary school, middle school, especially high school, learning how to critically think about things, how to understand how a story is made, how to understand how we start from point A to point B, how this story influences another story, how this story influences another story, and influences this story, which then influences into a movie, and etc. So that's definitely something that you should definitely think about. Now, I'm sorry if I'm speaking really, really fast. I'm just somebody that really does talk a lot and speaks very, very fast because I'm used to it, and also because in a lot of ways, and I think everybody can understand this, is that aside from, different things that you were or are still interested in, like skills such as being in music helps you pronunciate and understand and speak fluently and quickly with the way you're speaking about things, because certain songs are extremely fast. Also, sometimes when you're arguing a point, sometimes debating and being in debate class or debating about a point, and somebody else talking to you quickly, and you're going to have to talk quicker, and they're going to have to talk quicker, and you get used to the way of speaking really fast. So if I ever go a little too fast, comment down below and tell me to slow down, and I will be able to explain in a better concept and in a way that will make you understand the video, so that you don't have to repeat it a few times. Although it would be awesome if you did, because in some ways that helps me, because that shows that you love to view my video a lot. But yeah, if I am going very fast and I'm speaking really quickly for you, then please tell me to slow down, and I will try my best to find a way to either slow it down, or maybe one of you guys can, for this video and the next videos for incoming freshmen, tips for incoming freshmen, to translate some of my stuff in English, in French, in Spanish, in Korean, in any of the languages that you can speak, and all their translations, if you guys can. I will definitely be putting that in the chat if I can, and if I can, I will try and see if I can put it into the little eye that they have for every YouTuber to have an information box. So that's definitely something to think about. Now, anyways, before I get off topic, because I kind of am now, we are also going to talk about this. So people sometimes don't understand what a semester system is and what a quarter system is. Some of us have had both. Some of us have had one of them. So a quarter system, in a general sense of things, is much faster than a semester. So usually you have about sometimes 6, 7, 8 weeks, maybe half of the 18 weeks. So 18 minus, 18 divided by 2 is 6. So you have like 6, 7, 8 weeks for classes, okay? So you've got a 6, 7, 8 week class, and it's much faster, it's much more work in a small amount of time. So in a very compact amount of time, which does help you in community college if your professor does that. But sometimes if they go a little overboard, it's not going to help you much. But if you are used to it and you can adapt to it and you can do it, then you are an awesome dude and an awesome person. Me, I think it's going to be hard for me to do that, but I feel like I would have to adapt to it a little bit. But it's not fun, especially if the professor does not explain the concept well enough for you to understand. So there is some differences between everything that you are learning. But nonetheless, it is a very condensed, very fast, a lot of information in a short amount of time classes, and then you've got your break finally, or you've got another break. That is usually for quarter system. A semester system is usually, generally, depending on the school, is about a 16 to 18 week class period, where basically in the 16 or 18 week class period, you have more time to get your work done, and at the same time, you've got more time for the professor to explain things as best as they can, meaning that you won't have a condensed time, depending on your school, for office hours, and you won't have a condensed time for explaining concepts that maybe you might not understand, but somebody else understands, and it will help you understand the way that the person teaches specifically. So that's definitely something to think about. But it's really up to you as a student and how you want to learn. So, for instance, in my schools, there's a few community colleges that are quarter system, and there's a few community colleges that are semester system. But it's very rare for a community college to have a quarter system. Quarter systems are usually more so in universities, And usually in UCs, in the California colleges, so the UCs, and sometimes some private colleges and some out-of-state private colleges and so forth. So those are definitely places that might have a quarter system. Other places, other colleges will have a semester system, and then some of the usually CSUs will have a semester system, which will mean you have more time and you'll be able to understand and grasp the concept much quicker in a longer amount of time, or possibly short amount of time, because you're able to understand what the professor is teaching. Now, along with that, it really depends on what class you're taking. Sometimes they might have to constrict a lot of different information in one lecture, specifically in the summer. What do I mean? Well, right now, for my summer classes, I am doing a little bit more than most students, and that means that I am doing a little bit higher than most students, and I'm doing pretty difficult, hard classes. So because I'm doing pretty difficult, hard classes, it is a lot to manage sometimes. So because of that, here's what tends to happen here. So along with what classes I have 3 hours of lecture per week outside of class. I mean, inside of class and outside of class. So I've got 3 hours of that and 3 hours of homework every single day, or for the most part, 3 days every week, depending. But it's condensed so much that some classes have literally 6 weeks out of class that you have to study per week, sometimes even more, depending on how you study. So you are learning constantly during the summer semester. This summer semester is condensed like it's a quarter system, but in a semester mind frame. Meaning you do a lot of work in a condensed amount of time, kind of like a quarter system, but you get a little bit more help and a little bit more understanding, and sometimes your classes are on different days, or there's 3 different days that it's on, and then you've got another class that's on 2 different days that are not on that day. The way my schedule came in this semester was I am having right now, a History 202, which is during the even later than that, these late 1800s to early 1900s to kind of 21st century in a lot of ways. So almost modern day, so to speak, as far as history goes. And we have a whole bunch of things that we have to condense in a small amount of time and a lot of homework. I literally have 3-4 assignments due on different days. 1 on Friday, 2 on Sunday, but they're really big, and usually they're 1 to 2 pages long. Now at first you're thinking, okay, 1 to 2 pages, I can easily do that, but they want you to be extremely specific. If you're not specific enough, you might lose points. If you go off topic on one little piece of it, you might lose points. If there's a lot of errors on the way that you are typing your stuff, whether it's commas, semicolons, etc., and you're putting them in the wrong area, you lose points too, depending on how the professor wants you to do things. Also, each professor will have their own different way of doing things. So that's one of my professors. Another professor of mine, I have 4 academic journals to finish, and we can choose whichever day we would like. This person is a little bit more lenient, but he's awesome. But at the same time, he's also still very much strict. We can choose any time for the range of the day that we started in the class, all the way to the end, near the end or the last week of class, where we have to complete at least 4 mandatory required readings. And along with those readings, we need to produce some essays, mini essays, talking about what we learned in those PDFs or in those articles, explaining the time period and explaining this and that. Also, the cool thing about him is that he has a good amount of extra credit to help us out so we don't do badly. And then along with that, he's also got a pretty hard exam where you literally have to read every little thing. And then if you don't do well with one of your academic journals, you have a 5th one to do in a short amount of time and all that jazz. So you've got a lot of work that you have to really put in order to really get the concept of the historical context of the topic that you're talking about. So right about now, I have literally 4 or 5 different things I am doing for one class, and then 4 or 5 different things I'm doing for another class, and then I've got my bio class. My bio class where I have an exam on Thursday, and I am, of course, going to be studying tomorrow and a little bit today and a little bit this morning before I fall asleep. Literally studying for my bio exam. And my bio exam is pretty extremely hard. A lot of different things to learn, a lot of different things to talk about, a lot of different things to remember. And it's a bio class. Usually most professors, most students, most counselors will not recommend you to take a bio class during the summer, but if you think you can handle it, go for it. But do know you're going to have 6 to 9 hours of studying outside of class. So that means there's not going to be a lot of time for you to study. So make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you understand what you're talking about, and make sure you are able to comprehend every little thing. I've been doing pretty well with my exams and my other things, but not as great as I would have liked. So my grade kind of went down a little bit, but if I'm able to do better with this exam, my grade goes back up. But it's really, really hard. You guys probably don't know, but literally I have 7 to 8 chapters I have to reread, 7 to 8 chapters I have to re-understand, and 7 to 8 chapters of notes that I have to review. Wondering why I haven't been live on YouNow, which is something I love to do. It's like a break for me, and it's fun to interact with a lot of you guys. But I can't really do that because I have so much work to do sometimes. And then at the same time, I just want to take some breaks when I need to, and maybe spend time with some family, spend time with some friends, relax, maybe go for a run, get a little bit of sleep if I can, before I go to the next class if I can, depending. So it's a lot of work. So, when you put down a lot of your classes and you put down how many you should be taking or how much you want to be taking, make sure that it works with your schedule and make sure you have a good amount of time to actually get your work done, especially during the summer semester, because usually you are reduced to about 11 units depending on your school, and 11 units is not a lot for most students, right? But because it's summertime, you don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally and a lot of time to really grasp the concept, for the most part, that sometimes you might have to skip some chapters that they are not going to be teaching, and sometimes there's going to be chapters that they keep that you're going to have to learn. And then there's a whole bunch of information that you have to keep in your head to understand. Now, if you understand a lot about health or you understand a lot about, a specific subject, then maybe this might be a little easier for you, especially if you are going to the allied health department. Maybe this might not be too hard for you, but it's an extremely hard class nonetheless for everybody. Literally speaking of, I had to learn about the digestive system, the different types of hormones that control our body, different understandings of our muscles, different understandings of our skeletal system, different things about her explaining about growth plates that are in our body. This is the reason why you should be very careful with breaking bones that are within the growth plates, according to the way my professor explained it. Because once you do that, it might be hard for you to grow, which stunts your growth. Other than other things like coffee and other, different types of things that if you overdo it can possibly stunt your growth, depending. And this is through a lot of research that a lot of people tend to check online, that a lot of people tend to talk about in classes, and that we tend to learn in different types of media that we talk about. For instance, a lot of that, or a good amount of that, was mentioned in my lectures. Some of it I already knew, and some of it I literally had to be really confused and wonder, oh, I never knew that about our body, how it does this, how it does that. Oh, I never knew this happens. It also happens with psychology, in fact. Psychology has some of that too, where you're like, I didn't know our body does this. I didn't know our body does that. I didn't know our body can't handle this amount of stress, etc. So there's a lot of different things to definitely think about when you're taking different classes. Along with that, I also have literally a whole bunch of notes that, of course, depending on what you're doing, you usually take it on your computer or take it by hand. Literally a lot of notes on the way that the blood passes through your system, the way that the stomach passes, the stomach fluids and the stomach, lining and all that jazz passes through your stomach, how your brain functions, how you learn, how you understand things, different understandings of the brain, the hindbrain, the last thing that tends to fully mature at 25 for a lot of people, which I forget exactly right now. I think it's the hippocampus, but nonetheless, yeah. So the hippocampus, if I'm not mistaken, usually grows at 25 and then at 30. So 25 is when your brain is fully developed, and at the same time will still keep learning and still keep understanding. It's just that you need to really push yourself and really understand how to learn different things so that your brain can constantly start adding even more information. But your brain is fully developed at 25, and then understanding a lot about the way that your brain is developed, etc. So yeah, a lot of information that I've been learning. Some stuff I know and some stuff I don't know, and I'm like, oh boy, I have so much to work with. Now, if you're wondering, okay, yeah, you say you have a whole bunch of notes. Yeah, you have chapters, 7 to 8 chapters. Oh, that doesn't seem like a lot. Okay, well, actually, no, wait, that sounds like a lot, but I don't think there's that many notes. If you actually looked at my notes, I literally have, for one of my first exams was about 17 to 18 pages of notes, starting from something simple to literally ending with something extremely complex before the first exam. Think about that, 17 to 18 notes. That's like writing an essay, but just with notes. And having to remember every single little detail, whatever they've said, and having to type it. Also, because it's a summer class, this is different from semesters of fall and spring, is that because it's condensed, not only that, we also have longer times where we have to learn. So those 7 to 8 hours, 7 to 8 chapters that we're learning is condensed in 3 hours. Sometimes it's so condensed that sometimes we try and fit in 3 hours and it doesn't even fit in those 3 hours. Then we have to take it into the next day and then get even more done and get even more done and get even more done and get even more done until it's time for the exam. Then you have to really study before the exam, and then you have to do it, which is usually about 70-80 minutes. So yeah, that's a lot of work. Now, along with that, we've also got so we've got a lot of different classes. So a lot of my classes are about 3 hours, 4 hours long. A lot of lecturing and a lot of listening. And sometimes there's times where you have to ask questions and you tell them and you ask them, okay, so wait, how does that work? How does this work? But then they cut you off and they're not trying to be rude. Some of them, not all of them. And they're not trying to be rude, but they're going to tell you, can I please just finish this little piece of information first? And then we'll have a little break and then you guys can ask me some more information and this and that. So constant time where you cannot even speak or say anything for the most part, and you are literally trying to understand the concepts. There's barely any time that they will ask you a question most of the time. So literally you only answer when they ask a question. And depending on the class, they'll also have things called a beeper, where you choose A, B, C, or D as to what the conclusion or understanding of the concept that you're learning is. So that's definitely understandable. Let's see here. So that's a lot of things to see, and to learn. Aside from that, some professors might make you even stay an extra hour than your 3 or 4 hours because you need to complete a specific amount of workshops in a short amount of time. At least, a good amount in a short amount of time. That's literally me for most of my classes. At least one of them, at least. The other two, I think they don't have one, but they make you understand it through writing different types of stuff down on a little piece of paper that they give you, like a handout, and it's kind of like extra credit sometimes, and literally you have to just kind of remember and name, different pieces of the body and different organs and different, ways that this goes and that goes. Or, for instance, my 2 history classes, because I'm taking 2 history classes and 1 bio class. My 2 history classes, there's 2 different things that they'll tell us to do. They'll tell us to do this, or they'll tell us to do that, and they'll say, okay, which ones do you guys think it is? How does it make sense to what we're teaching and what we're understanding? Does this make any understandable concept to what is happening right now? Is there similarities between what is happening right now and what happened in the past? Stuff like that. So it's a lot of work and it's a lot of understanding. Now, because it's college, there's this thing that you probably heard in high school and you probably understand it. It's usually that last week before finals, that most people call it dead week. Well, you have a similar version of that in college/university. It's not the second to the last week, depending on how you see it. Most students, especially myself, personally, I feel like it is, especially if it is semester, that is fall and spring. I tend to call it the 3rd or 4th week. The 3rd or 4th week near the end. So the last 3 to 4 weeks, or sometimes 5 weeks, is usually what we would tend to call dead week. So usually 1 month. About 1 month It's usually what most of us tend to call dead week because it's so much information and we don't have a lot of time now. We've got to understand these concepts even further, and there's not a lot of time to explain it. Now, in a summer class, I literally just started in June, and now it's July, and we're almost done with my semester already. So, literally, the 6-week class I am going to, literally after the second week, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth week, so the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth week is already considered my dead week for me, personally. And for my 7-week class, because I have 2 6-week classes and 1 7-week class. So with my second 7-week class, my third week in that class is my starting of my dead week, because I have 4 weeks to go before the final, which is a lot of work. So those are like dramatic but also very specific amounts of time where you can call it a dead week, because you don't have a lot of time and you have a lot of information to learn or a lot of information to restudy for your exams. Sometimes professors will even though let's say your final is on this week, sometimes they'll make you take it a week before. So you always have to be prepared. You always have to be on your toes. Oh, you can't see my toes, but you always have to be prepared on your toes, and you've just got to really get to it. This is what we call the college hustle also, sometimes, depending on who you speak to. What we call the college hustle, because you are hustling to finish your classes and finish everything in a timely manner. And then, that's one of the reasons why we tend to say that sometimes, for the most part, most college students, almost a lot of college students, don't have a lot of time to hang out or chill or relax much, because most of the time, a lot of that time that they're chilling is usually set for studying. Everything is usually set for studying. There's usually barely any time, and whenever they do have time, they set aside that time for studying, and then they set maybe a small amount of time to maybe hang out with friends and just relax. It depends on the class, though. If you're good at it and you really, really like it and you don't really need, too much, then awesome. But for the most part, usually, it's never that way. So there's times where sometimes we will be chilling and just relaxing, and we're, talking, but we're also focusing on our work. That's why we call multitasking, but not everybody is best at multitasking. But yeah, we'll be talking, but at the same time we'll be doing our work. We'll be relaxing, but at the same time we're doing our work. And then after we're done with our work, if we have a little more time, we might take a little nap or a siesta, wake up from the siesta, boom, out the door, go to the restroom with our stuff, go to class. But there is times to definitely hang, but it's very dismal depending on your classes and depending on where you're going. Some students, especially in community college, such as myself, I go to usually 3 campuses, my main campus and my 2 other campuses. So I am usually going from either bus, train, or sometimes if my parents are able to help me out, I am being driven over there. Or which I hope to maybe do at some point, if I had my license, I would be driving myself over there within a short amount of time, even though there would be most likely traffic and congestion and all that jazz. And having to literally be, if my dad is driving, literally looking at my phone the whole entire time, trying to review notes. That's a lot of different things that you'll tend to do. Now, from there, we've got more concepts to talk about, more things to talk about, and more food to recommend that you probably would like to do at times when you don't have a lot of time to cook. But I would recommend that you know how to cook, because by the time you are out of college, especially, in in a way, you kind of already are out in the real world in a lot of ways, especially in universities, but you still have that kind of clutch in a way, especially if your parents are helping with the money, and you're not going to too many jobs or this and that. Like, they're your mini clutch for some things, or your FAFSA or other programs are your little clutch. But once you're out there and you're, let's say, doing your own thing, excuse me, sorry guys. Once you're doing your own little thing, my throat was dry and it was acting up. Once you're on your own or on your own in your university, even if it's clutch, once you're out fully and you're in the real world, I mean, you kind of already are in community college and university and all that jazz. But what I mean is, like, when you're full on in the real world and in another version of the real world. Oh, okay. Now I can't get this concept right. In community college, university, and the full-on world in general, aka your real world, is that sooner or later after college, you don't have as big of a clutch for your help. Maybe you might be able to go there for maybe extra classes or another degree, but that's about it. Other than that, usually you will have your own dorm, you'll have your own place, usually with a roommate or by yourself, and you're going to need to know how to cook, because you're not going to be just going to your local fast food restaurant and thinking that that's all you're going to be eating. Because if that's all you're going to be eating, it's unhealthy for the most part. It's not always the best food to always choose. And, you're just going to have to learn how to develop your own skills, your own cooking skills, on learning how to cook. If you don't know how to cook right now, I would recommend trying to learn. I will try my best maybe later this summer, along with my Hawaii vlogs from last year that I'll be putting in my channel. You will also see maybe me showing how to cook different foods. I kind of did that in one of my vlogs recently, a few months ago when I was in Las Vegas, but I didn't really explain it that well. But I guess I might as well explain it now. If you guys tend to go to that vlog at some point, it shows how to make couscous. Not couscous, yeah, I think it is couscous. I forget exactly what it's called, but I think it is couscous. I'm not fully sure. But it's a type of grain, okay? And basically it's very circular, pretty small, circular, and you boil it, and you put a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and you let it boil in trouble. And then once the water is all out and it's empty, you start, of course you're going to be mixing as you go. But anyways, once it's fully out, then it's cooked, or once it's cooked enough. It's a balance of taste and feel, as you probably would notice. And then after that, you would scoop some, put it in your plate, have a side of some steak you cooked or some chicken you cooked. Hopefully you know how to cook correctly. And I will probably show a video on that if I have a chance. And then after that, you eat it, you clean your dishes, and you put it back into your sink, into your dishwashing rack, or a dishwashing improvised rack if you have one, and then you use it again when you're making more food and, all that jazz. And that's how you'll eat it. That's how you'll learn. That's how you taste it. So, yeah. With that being said, you're gonna really need to know how to cook. Also, if you don't know how to clean your house already, you're going to have to learn how to clean around your own house, your own apartment, your own dorm, so that things don't get messy. Because when they get cluttered, you might miss your homework, you might miss certain things that you need for class, because they're all hidden or literally swaveled over to the side or something like that, and you don't even know where it is. And that also goes along with getting to deal with your own dorm mate. You know, your dorm mate or your person that you're renting with. Okay? I don't think they would like it cluttered, and so would you not. And so wouldn't you. My bad. I am tired, but I'm trying my best to make this video as best as I can. So yeah, I don't think they would like it, neither would you. So that's definitely something that you would have to also learn. Also doing your own laundry, also making sure to ration out how much clothes you bring to your dorm so that you don't have to have constant times where you have to literally go to the laundromat or to your school laundromat, cleaning your clothes and waiting for it to finish. I hope they have them in some dorms, but not every dorm has it, at least to what I know. So literally that's a lot of laundry to clean. Yeah, so I've explained a lot. I have more to say, but I think I will keep that into the next video because this is already 50-something minutes long. And it's almost 12. By the time this is uploaded, this will probably be midnight by then. Anyways, this is you1405550 signing out, and I will see you guys in the next video. By the way, before I leave, I've noticed people have not been clicking at the end of my videos for different videos that I tend to recommend, but I would very much recommend it if you guys would please look at some of the videos that I recommend. Some of them are from YouTubers, some of them are from my own YouTube channel that are really old, some of them are new, and I would just really love you guys to see some of my playlists and some of the things that I love to talk about that are on different channels or that are just videos that I'm intrigued with. Also, as usual, at the top, you'll always have my subscription box at the top, and you'll always have somebody, for the most part, unless I don't have time to put them in there, you'll always have somebody that I will recommend at the bottom. And I would recommend you to check out their channel because they are awesome and they're cool. And I feel like they definitely deserve, the shout out. Of course, it's not full on a shout out just because. It's also because I just really like them as a YouTuber. And I really would love it if you guys would check them out. But yeah, so I guess that's it. I will see you guys later. I don't know who I'm going to recommend, but I recommend you to see them. I think the person I'm going to recommend today is somebody that tends to YouNow mostly, but he's also a YouTuber. Anyways, like I said again, this is you1405550 signing out. Bye. Ciao. Arrivederci.